It's been a journey. If you own a small business and you're trying to make it your full-time gig, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It is for the persistent. And so it takes a lot of consistency, persistence, and grind and grit to get to go full time.
Hello, everyone. Today, my podcast guest is Kelly from Gold Bear Media. Kelly, thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your company.
Hi, I'm Kelly Sundsvold, owner, founder, CEO of Gold Bear Media. We've been around for 5 years, um, and I work with my husband, Sean.
Mhm.
He is our COO. Both of us went full time with the company in August and September of 2022, and
Congratulations.
thank you so much. It's been a journey. If you own a small business and you're trying to make it your full time gig, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It is for the persistent. And
Yes.
so it takes a lot of consistency, persistence, and grind and grit
I
to
could not
to
I
get to
could
go
not
full
agree
time.
more. I could not agree more. This is also a very scary venture. You're giving up your guaranteed paycheck to go out on your own. So
Mhm.
yes, let's dig a little bit more into that. But before we do so, where are you guys based, Kelly?
Yeah, we're based in Maryland. We work with clients all across the country. We haven't had our first global client yet, but we're still holding out for our first global client. But we work in the United States primarily right now, all across the country.
Awesome. And then you mentioned earlier when we briefly spoke that this was a family business. So you and your husband, and you guys have kids as well?
We do. We have four kids. Our oldest is
Awesome.
21, which I'm only 29, so it's getting a little weird now. I'm just kidding. I'm older than that. We started this. It was kind of out of a really hard time for our family, and we had my husband had an emergency back surgery in
Wow.
January of 2019.
Hmm.
He developed a really quick staph infection, spinal
Oh, wow.
abscess that went into his spine and left him temporarily paralyzed from the waist down.
Hmm.
So he was in the hospital in rehab, learning how to walk and do all the things. And during that time, I was a communication director at a nonprofit, and I was a sole provider. And as you know, nonprofits don't pay a ton.
Yep.
So we really missed that second income in our family. And during 2019, while he was healing, learning how to rewalk, all that good stuff, we we had accumulated some debt.
Hmm.
Thankfully, had some disability insurance. I was working, but it wasn't enough to cover, the mounting medical bills and all that. And
Of
so
course.
by December and January of 2020, we really were like, we need to we need to make a change.
Hmm.
And I started off in the early 2000s when I graduated from college. I was a graphic designer. I was like, well, I
Hmm.
enjoy graphic design. I can do it in my sleep. Like I'll just advertise that I do like brochures or business
Hmm.
cards or anything like that. That's just kind of, easy to whip out on a weekend or a night in addition to my full-time job. So, um, did
Wow.
that and landed my first digital marketing client. And I was just ecstatic and was very encouraged. Then
That's
2020
awesome.
March hit
So,
and the pandemic really just did a number on the world, and we all went digital. And so my phone just started ringing and ringing and ringing, and that's when I knew I could make this a full-time business.
that is
Um,
awesome. So first
so
of all, like, listen, really sorry to hear that about your husband. I had a friend in the exact same situation. And but listen, I think you guys did the best. That's the best possible turnaround. You guys, instead of like, feeling sorry for yourself, you figured out a way to just get to where you needed to be. And I mean, listen, kind of like searching and like thinking of like, okay, well, what is it that I enjoy, and coming up with like, your graphic design background and turning this into an opportunity. That's awesome. Hats off to you guys.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you guys started this in 2019, 2020. Phones did not stop ringing. And so 5 years later, almost, tell me more. Like, how's the journey been, ups and downs? And then we'll get into some questions from there.
Yeah. So journey has been. It's been a lot of learning. I would say like the hardest piece for me to get over was the pricing.
Hmm.
Having worked for a company all the way up until the point when I was like, okay, I'll go on my own. Um, it was the pricing was the hardest piece. And it's not like you can Google it and you'll get a range. I
Hmm.
had 20 years of experience, but I'm like, how do I put this into a pricing model? So I would say that was probably the biggest hurdle that we've had, and there's still times that we struggle with that. There's still
Yeah,
been
yeah.
projects that we're like, wow, we way underbid that, or you know
And
that
how do you know? How do you know if you underbid something versus overbid?
Yeah, it's honestly, we sometimes get into a scope creep. So we had a situation that happened recently. Nothing bad. Like the client is amazing. We have a great relationship, good conversations, but they're also figuring out who they are as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, it's taken us where we thought it was going to be a straight up website design project. It's taken us time to have to back up and do some of the preliminary stuff. So it's not as simple, and you're dealing with people and it's messy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So pretty much for our listeners here, you guys still haven't cracked the perfect code. There's no special formula. It's gonna be
no,
a there's no one size fits all, but instead it's like per client
if
basis.
anyone has any advice, comment below. No, it's yeah, it's a tricky one, and honestly, I feel the more I learn and the more I research, I find that a lot
Hmm.
of other small business owners are in the same boat,
Yep,
and
yep.
it's definitely something that we can all have a shared struggle on, and we can learn from one another. And I have, like, hey,
Yeah,
what did
yeah.
you do in this situation? Okay,
Hmm.
yeah.
So I mean, listen, I think I I think when I think about service offering industries, this is where the first thing I would do is look at others, see what is it, what's the fair market price, you know.
Hmm.
But even that, it's like, okay, quote unquote fair. So what is it? Could you
Right.
ask for more? Could you ask for less? Because obviously you don't want to ask too much so that people say, you know what, oh no, they're crazy. I'm not definitely not working with them. You don't want to ask for too low also so that people don't say the quality of the work is probably not
Hmm.
where it needs to be, so I'm not gonna be there. You have to be at the right pricing. So, and the right pricing for different customers, I feel like can be completely different.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of different, depending on where they are in the process with their business,
Hmm.
the scope might be different, like this one example I had where we have to go back and kind of lay the groundwork for some,
Hmm.
business language
Yeah,
before
yeah.
we can wrap up the website.
So speaking of your customers, so tell us, like, is there a specific industry that you guys focus on, or is pretty much it's open?
Yeah, we're pretty industry agnostic, but we have really found our niche
Hmm.
in business coaches and the retail space and
Nice.
service areas. So that can include like construction and things like that. So really
Mm,
service and retail, e-com, those are
interesting.
the spaces that we really focus in on. And within that, it's construction, it's coaches, it's realtors are another industry. We work with insurance services, so it's
How did you guys choose those? Did it just like happen that how did you find your niche?
yeah. So again, a lot of trial and error.
Hmm.
We started just working with everyone, which was a mistake. I would not suggest working with everyone.
Hmm.
There are little nuances to different industries. If you have a product-based company, which we work with several product-based companies, there's similarities in the way that their business is run. There's similarities in
Hmm.
the way that they need to get their products out and displayed, whether that's through like influencers or, SEO, pay per click, like all this stuff. It's there's a there's a formula and a sequence to it that I feel like I finally mastered, kind of figured out. So it's a rinse and repeat kind of situation.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's individual nuances within each brand and within each company, but for the most part, I feel like um, that was how we ended up. We just started
Gotcha.
getting good, and then the referrals, like one product based company knows another product based
Hmm.
company, so we've gotten
Hmm.
some clients that way. um, Probably our leading company that or type of industry that we've worked with has been business coaches. And that's one I actually really, really enjoy. I'm
Hmm.
learning a lot from my clients, just how to lead better, um,
Yeah.
speak more
And
confidently. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
all the
It's
things.
clearly it's working. And,
Thank you.
like so far, great display. So, but let me ask you, these business coaches, do they focus on a specific sector? Or because I know, for example, having been in biotech for a very long time, I do know that we get some of these, and a lot of them work specifically with biotech leaders. What are you seeing? They have a specific niche as well, or are they kind of like
They
they're pretty
do
broad?
actually. Now that you say that, yeah, they do. A lot of them are coaches that go into companies and work and help their work culture, their work systems, their
Hmm.
processes. So our office, all their office stuff, and making sure that the bad bosses of the world are led and trained up.
Hmm.
One of the companies we actually work with as well actually used to be a business coach where he was going into companies and helping them learn about how their um, how their companies can work together better. And he
Hmm.
discovered that, and I actually helped him bring this product to life, which was really cool. He discovered that he could build a product using AI that
Hmm.
would actually help companies and employers put employees in the right spot based on AI software and all through psychometric science. So that has been really awesome to be on the forefront of. Like we were really excited when he got his first client, and like now he's
Yeah, yeah.
just taken off. And so that's been really cool to see how that evolved from like a let me help people get along better to okay, hold on, let's back up. Let's look at let's use the tools. AI is up and
Hmm.
coming. Let's use the tools and
Yeah, yeah.
really develop something that can really help
You,
companies.
you have to put me in contact with that business coach. I would love to interview him on this podcast because
Definitely.
very, very on topic. So, I mean, speaking of AI here, um, one of the things I've noticed lately, and I think it's across the board, people I think would agree, and let me know if otherwise, but video is increasingly becoming the core of marketing. So, like, what trends are you seeing, in short form, and how has AI been involved in creating these video contents, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, social media obviously is one of our core services. And the rise of AI has just, you can hardly turn on anything with social media that, when once you pop open the app, you've got something that's AI, whether it's an AI picture, an AI
Hmm.
video. I was talking with someone about a year ago, and we were kind of making fun of AI video because there was a trend where people would take pictures of their dog and it they'd plug in an AI to create a video and it would morph into this crazy looking creature where all these dogs were like coming out of the furniture, and so it just
Uh-huh.
turned into a crazy. I'm like, boy, they've got to really improve that. Now here we are, probably a year to 8 months later, and like how many people got fooled by the rabbits that were jumping on the trampoline?
Right?
Like,
Yep, yep.
we've now gone from like, oh yeah, that's really fake to, oh my gosh, is that real? And how can I actually decipher if it is or not?
Hmm.
So, I think the technology is advancing so quickly that we're seeing trends in real time happening and being executed,
Hmm.
which is really cool.
No, I mean, that's awesome. You're talking about the rabbits. There's also the baby trends, when you have the
Yes,
little babies speaking. So cute, and it's like so captivating. So,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
to your point, I feel like it's evolving every single
Mhm.
day. So, I mean, that being said, like right now, would you still consider that we are in the infancy stage of AI still? And like, what's next for especially
Yeah.
for your field? Like, how do you anticipate what's the next big impact that AI will have?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Honestly, like, I think the world is our oyster for AI. It's really interesting how far it's come in 8 months, and it's just I don't know in a year, like how
Hmm.
I think we could be, and I think we already are in some level making completely AI videos,
Hmm.
like movies, like things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we go pay to see will be even more, if not all, AI. It could be
That's
very
crazy to think.
fascinating. It is crazy to think.
So,
Yeah,
so, so some people are completely worried about what's to come, and others are excited, and maybe another group is like, huh, don't really care. Where do you sit?
I'm excited. I was one of I was a very early adopter to
Hmm.
ChatGPT, and it's just like everything that comes out, I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. How do they do that? How they do that?
Hmm.
And it's really there's a natural curiosity that I personally have. Not everyone's like that. I have met a lot of people that have been very scared. Like AI is coming for our jobs. I can't tell you how many
Hmm.
headlines I've read like that. They're coming for our jobs, and this person can't get hired because, they AI can do my job. Well, if you have that mindset, you're not going to go very far. If you're like,
100%.
hey, I know AI, I've
Hmm.
studied it, I've been in it, I've worked in it, and here's how I, using my tool of AI, can bring
Hmm.
this to your company. That says more. Instead of just rolling over and having the mindset of AI is taking over our jobs and, or, oh, I don't trust it, I don't know. Just get curious about it. Just play around with it and become an expert in whatever area. I mean, there's AI voiceovers, there's AI podcast makers. I was playing around with Google Notebook LM
Hmm.
the other day, and I didn't even know this existed. And somebody had told me about it. Of course, you can't stay up on all the tools, but I was like, this one, I was like, oh my gosh, they took my website and
Right?
created a podcast about it. It's not anything I would ever put out on my website or anything, but it just was something else that I learned that I didn't know before. And so
Hmm.
I personally am very excited. I think if we can, as humans, can own it as a tool,
Hmm.
and learn and show how we can show it, I think it's going to be better for our world, for the companies that integrate it. But
Yep.
yeah.
And I mean, like, along the same lines, there are a couple interviewers that I've had here who said the same thing. They said that it will better my work-life balance. Do you
Mhm.
feel the same? Do you feel like you'll be able to have, like, be able to delegate more tasks to AI? And also that's the first part of the question. Second part, like from a pricing structure, do you feel like this will allow you to be potentially offer more competitive, affordable prices to customers? Tell me more about that.
Yes to both. So the first question, say that one more time. The
Yeah, so the second question was about the pricing, and the first question was about the productivity and the better work-life balance.
Yes, better work-life balance. So, yes, I do think that we'll have better work-life balance, but I think as Americans, we work too hard. So, what are we going to do to fill that time? Like you back
Hmm.
up in time and we can see it in history. When a tractor was invented, they were like, wow, we can farm all this field and then we can take time to, sit on our laurels and I don't know, chew tobacco or whatever they
Hmm.
did back then. And so, but that wasn't the case. It made our life easier in that respect, but we found new things to do with our life. Because of that, then now all of a sudden, we're looking at you know, the next thing, whatever
Hmm.
that is. And
Yeah, yeah.
so as we keep inventing stuff, I don't think AI is going to be any different. I think we're going to stay busy.
Hmm.
We're just going to move on to something different. But I don't ever
Okay.
see all of
That's
us
a
living on the coast and basking in the beach.
Listen, I don't know how you know so much about tractors because you're only 29 years old, if I remember correctly. No, but I think
Yeah.
I think this is a very fresh perspective, one that I've not heard yet because people were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna make me more productive, better work-life balance, we're gonna work less, etc." But then again, that was I believe one of my Canadians, because one of my Canadians partners that I interviewed. So maybe Canadians, Americans, different mindset.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yes.
but this you're right. You're right. I think people will be like, "Oh, I can do this so quickly, so let me move on to the next task."
Mhm.
So I can totally see it happening. So I
Yep.
mean, listen, for you guys, Kelly, family business, going now what on 6 years.
Mhm.
What's next? What's next for Gold Bear Media?
Yes.
Is your 21-year-old coming to take over soon?
I hope so. She's great. We actually brought her on to be a project manager in December.
Awesome.
She's still living at home, figuring out the
Hmm.
whole college, what I want to be when I grow up. And we're like, hey,
Hmm.
here's something that you can get some skills in. We have a lot of projects. We've had some pretty significant growth in our business. And so
Awesome.
having her be a project manager has been really good, just to give her some skills, but also to obviously help our company as well, and it's family. It benefits her as well. One of the services that, as far as like what's on the horizon, we've noticed that there are a lot of companies that are a little uneasy about AI, or they're
Hmm.
going into it kind of aimlessly.
Hmm.
We see a lot of posts that not necessarily not from the companies that we work with, but I see them on social media or even websites. It's like you can just tell it was written completely by ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So having so one of the services that we have just started offering has been an AI integration tool where we are actually going in and helping companies integrate AI into their companies through various softwares, through building custom chatbots, uploading like projects into, as simple as uploading projects into ChatGPT and creating like a chatbot that way. So it's really something that we're just starting to dabble in. And so we've already seen some really good, like, oh, that's how I do it. And so just starting to get those companies that maybe are a little unsure about what to do, what the future brings with AI, or they're a little bit scared or not sure what to do. It's been really
Hmm.
great to be able to help companies bring them up to speed with this because it is moving so fast.
Could not have said it better. It is moving extremely fast from one day to another. I feel like, even in ChatGPT, like with the agent that was launched recently, that's a whole different ballgame as well. I mean, just like you, Kelly, I'm extremely excited. Can't wait to see, what the future holds with AI. I'm gonna keep talking to people, keep learning from you guys, and we'll see what happens. But I think for me here, the highlight of this was how you guys were able to turn a misfortune into an incredible opportunity. You guys now are business owners with a lot of demand, especially since COVID. Since COVID, so I feel like you guys had a down, and then since then it's been on an upward trajectory. So
Thank
congratulations!
you.
Couldn't be happier for you guys. And Kelly, thank you so much for coming on board and sharing your perspective. And you know what? Maybe in a few months I'll reach back out and we'll have number two to hear
Yeah,
how
sounds
Gold
good.
Bear Media is doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great conversation.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a good one.
You too.